Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, we've gone through the whole Gone with the Wind being temporarily removed from HBO Max, and Little Britain being removed, and Chrysalis shows, and Cops, and the other Cops knockoff show. I still can't remember its name. I just read it a second ago in an article, but I still cannot remember its name because it's a knockoff show I never watched. And now the newest thing, which is under threat, is the Dukes of Hazzard. Now, I'm from Australia, so I was not familiar with the Dukes of Hazzard's history. I grew up watching the show as a kid. I loved it. You know, it was a very simple, moral comedy drama about guys who are rebels, basically, and always like fighting these corrupt cops, and just always like have these amazing stunts, and that's all I needed to know to enjoy it as a kid. And I mean, I had a difficult relationship with my brother because I'm gay, and that was the only thing, because he was really into cars, and I remember he had a model of the General Lee that he made, and which I unfortunately trashed because I played with it like it was a real car. And that was the only thing I remember doing with him, was watching that show. And I have a lot of sentimental attachment to the show, but I did genuinely enjoy it, and I watched it a lot when I was a kid. And so did everyone. I meant to check the ratings. In the US, it was like the #2 show behind Dallas. So it was huge. Now, the issue is not with the show itself, not with the content, not with the subject, not with the actors. No one did blackface, no one said or did anything racist, but the car in the show is called the General Lee, and it has the flag of the Confederacy on the top. Now, that is the problem. Now, I didn't know this was a problem because I didn't know what the flag was. I didn't know anything about it, although I do note that I had a little pack of three Matchbox cars, Dukes of Hazzard set. It had Boss Hogg's, I don't know if it was a limousine, whatever it was, his big white fancy car with the horns on the front, and a police car and a General Lee, but it didn't actually have the flag on the roof. And I was thought, why didn't it have the thing on the roof? It's not painted properly, but I didn't actually realise they didn't put it on there because it was controversial. I didn't know what it meant. It wasn't until I saw, and please forgive me for my ignorance, I'm from Australia, we don't really get taught a lot about American history. It wasn't until I saw the remake film in 2005, when they're on the boys are on the road stuck in a traffic jam, and people, as they're going past on either side, are either saying, yeah, you know, long live the South, or you're a bunch of racists, you know, go back to the whatever century. And they're like, what is wrong with these people? And then they sort of look up on the roof of the car and remember, oh, we've got a Confederate flag on top of the car. And they're like, oh, we're going to make a lot of friends here. And I'm like, what? And then I found out, oh, that's a flag. Oh, that's the flag that they had in the Civil War. Oh, okay. Oh, that's the flag that racists use. Oh, crap. I wanted to buy a nice die-cast model of the car, because I had bought a model of the car like my brother had that I wanted to make, but I realised it would never look as good as a bought one, and it'd probably get broken. So I thought I'll buy a die-cast model one, it'll be nice, I'll sit it on my bookshelf with all my other stuff. And then I realised, oh, people might look at that and think I'm racist. Oh, I better not do that, I can't have that now, what do I do? I got distracted by other things and moved on with life. But now this has happened, and I bought all of Dukes of Hazzard on DVD a little while ago. I was finishing off all my DVD collections, and so I somehow managed to lose season 5 and season 6. Season 5 doesn't matter so much because I replaced 2 of the main actors with other actors due to a licensing issue and contract issue, and they were cousins who basically were exactly the same, and they just used the same roles and lines. And then once they sorted out the licensing, they just replaced them out again with no question. So that season no one really likes, but season 6 I got to find again. I'm a bit worried now if they cancel the show, like cancel it on streaming and it's not available anymore. People are going to go buying it like Gone with the Wind, and it's going to be hard to find those seasons and cost a fortune, so I'm not looking forward to chasing them. But I did a bit of research, and the problem with the flag, now the reason why they use the flag, first off, in the show, it's not a symbol of anything. The show was based on a 1973 film called Moonrunners, which is based on a real life person who was a moonshine runner called Jerry Rushing, and they used a car called the Traveller, which was named after General Lee's horse. And when they were making the show, they were going to call the car the Traveller, because it's just an adaptation of a movie basically, and they're going to call it the Traveller. And they knew it was General Lee's horse, and they were talking about it, and they just were like, I think General Lee is catchier. So they just went with the name General Lee, and for some reason they thought, well, we'll put the flag on the roof because that was his flag. Because the flag was the battle flag of the Civil War, which started in 1861 and ended in 1865. And the flag kind of disappeared until then. It was one of several flags that they made because obviously it wasn't like a planned thing, the succession and the war. So people just made up flags and used them. They had like 3 different ones, and there was one of them, or a variation of one of them. And unfortunately, the history of the flag, there's 2 histories of it after that, and that was a battle to retain slavery, so it didn't have a good connotation there, although it wasn't like a symbol of slavery, but it was used by the people fighting for it, so yeah. But then it was later used in 1894. It was incorporated into the Mississippi flag, and then in 1956 it was incorporated into the Georgia flag, and the series is based in Georgia, and that used it till 2001. Mississippi still uses it, and it would fly over buildings and stuff. And the problem was in 1948 it became a political symbol because there was a group who opposed segregation, and they used it as a symbol in their campaign, and it became a symbol of racism and hate and the movement against desegregation. So that's where it got its bad name. And then the Ku Klux Klan used it as well. Now it's not their official flag, but they have used it because it now has that meaning. So it was designed as the flag for the war, but then it was used more as history in just state flags. Without any racist connotations to it. There was some sort of association with rebelliousness, and there was a symbol of rebellion. Not necessarily what the rebellion was about, but rebellion. So it doesn't totally have a racist meaning to it, but it has been appropriated by racists. So to a lot of people, it's a symbol of racism, and that's the problem. But the problem is it's not actually a symbol of racism. It wasn't designed that way. It wasn't used that way for 60 or 70 years by Mississippi, by having it in its flag. And the show itself doesn't have anything to do with racism. The characters have nothing to do with racism. Like I said, they just used that because, I don't know, these people must have been idiots to use it. I don't believe they deliberately used it as subversively. I don't believe they were racist and they were trying to get into the show, because the show is so lighthearted and moral, and it's just a really great show. And I think they just didn't think, and they just were, they were literally sitting there going, okay, Traveller, what it was General Lee's horse. Oh, I think General Lee sounds better. Why don't we use the General Lee? We put the flag on that'll be more recognisable. We can sell that, because people were selling the flag. Part of, there's a lot of Civil War reenactors and this whole group of people who are interested in that history, and for a long time they were selling a lot of Confederate flag merchandise. So it was probably a merchandising decision on some level. So I don't think there was any intention behind it to be racist or anything. So to remove the show because the flag's in it, it's almost as ridiculous as deleting a movie because somewhere in the background there is a flag that has no meaning or symbolism, but they went on location shooting or something and there was a flag somewhere. So, there was a flag in the movie, we have to remove it. It's that level of knee-jerk reaction. And this is not the first time, because it gets even darker, the flag's use. Basically, there was this a-hole called, where is he? He's in my notes somewhere, Dylan Roof, Now, in 2015, he went into a traditionally black church and killed 9 people. Now, he was a racist, and he had pictures of him with a Confederate flag. And once those were seen online, all of a sudden, the history of the flag as being used as a symbol of racism came up again, and people wanted it gone. And it used to fly over buildings. They took it down, and TV Land actually dropped the Dukes that time in 2015 because using the Confederate flag was seen as a symbol of racism, so therefore the show was racist, which it isn't. So it was removed, and I didn't know this had happened because I don't watch TV Land. I just didn't hear anything about it. But then they added it back to streaming in 2018. Amazon had gotten a bunch of shows from Warner Brothers, and they just put it on. Wasn't an issue because nobody cared anymore because the upset from the shooting had died down, and now because of the Black Lives Matter, although Black Lives Matter had kind of tagged it as a problem, they didn't like it, but I don't think any of those. Maybe none of those people watched the show. Maybe they thought that because of that symbol that the characters are racist or something. I don't know. I just don't see how you can remove a show because of something visual in that show that's got nothing to do, has no symbolic or literal meaning, or there's no racism in the show. The show itself is not racist. So it's like, how can you cancel something for a meaning someone would interpret onto something which wasn't the intention of it? Like, that's just ignorance. I mean, if you know the history of the show, and if you grew up watching it, you know it's not about racism generally. It's nothing to do with racism. So it's very troubling because I understand on some level it does have this connotation and meaning, and now that it's no longer a merchandising thing, now it's Public Enemy, there's an issue with it. But I just think they need to be rational about this and go, okay, the show isn't racist, the characters, nothing about it is racist, it doesn't do any harm, so let's just leave it alone. Because just because some producer, some designer thought it'd be cool to put a flag on the thing so they can sell toy cars later, it shouldn't get cancelled for that. So I'm worried it's going to get cancelled because it's a great show. It was showing on TV Land twice a day. It was in reruns for years. It ran from 79 to 85, and then it was in reruns for decades because it's a great show and people love it. And kids should be able to see it. And they won't know what the flag means, and it shouldn't matter. It didn't matter. I mean, okay, I'm in Australia. We don't know a lot about the history of America. It didn't mean anything. There was nothing racist about it. It wasn't a problem until I found out later what it meant and what it meant to other people. So I'm hoping it doesn't get cancelled. I think it's an overreaction on some level, and it's I don't know what to call it. It just I don't know. I just hope it doesn't get cancelled. I don't have anything else to say about it. I think I covered all my notes that I wrote down. Yeah. Please don't cancel it. But yeah, I still have my DVDs. I will get those other 2 seasons. I'll be able to watch it. Other people who are fans will be able to watch it. It won't be erased. You can't erase history. You can't erase the shows. You can't erase it from, the popular culture. People remember watching it. But to remove it now, it stops future generations from watching it. And it is a good show. It does have good messages and good themes. And it's just a pity to think, and the characters, the actors, the performances, all of that is great. To think that will all be lost to a certain extent because it's got the General Lee has the Confederate flag on the roof, and that image was taken by people and appropriated and used for something bad that people see that as a symbol of now. It's just revisionism and cancel culture, and there's just nothing good about it. I don't think the show deserves it, and I think it would be a really sad thing if it gets cancelled because of this. Because there are a lot of things that deserve to be cancelled, but because they actually have racism in them or things that are negative that are hurtful to people. This show has none of that. So I'm going to go. I talk longer than I planned to, but I hope it doesn't I hope it doesn't disappear. I just hope it doesn't disappear. But feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go.